You don't need me to tell you that we are living through the most extraordinary days. And in these strange times, I'm finding that people are asking big questions, questions of life. They're investigating Christianity. And as a result, I've turned back to a book that a friend and I wrote some years ago called If You Could Ask God One Question. In this book, we tried to address the top 12 questions that people bring when they're investigating Christianity. And so this week I'm going to look at this second question. Isn't the Bible just a bunch of made-up stories? This is the question of the reliability of the Bible. Why do Christians believe that the Bible is reliable? Well, firstly, because the Bible itself claims to be reliable. It claims to be a historical and reliable book. One of the books of the Bible was written by somebody called Luke. We call it Luke's Gospel. In Luke's Gospel, Luke charts the life and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And Luke goes out of his way at the beginning of his writing to say that everything he writes in here, he has carefully investigated, that he has gone to eyewitnesses to verify what he writes. You can read that in chapter 1. I find it fascinating what he then writes in chapter 2. Listen to these opening words of chapter 2 of Luke's Gospel. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. That's the beginning of chapter 2. Now listen to the beginning of chapter 3. In the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, Herod, tetrarch of Galilee, his brother Philip, tetrarch of Iturea and Trachonitis, and Licinius, tetrarch of Abilene, during the high priesthood of Annas and Caiaphas, the word of God came to John. Now, do you see what he's doing there? He's saying these things really happened at a real time in history. When my children were younger, I used to, like many dads, read them fairy stories, and the stories always began the same way. Once upon a time in a land far away. Luke is doing something quite different. He's not saying once upon a time, but he's saying at a specific time in history when these characters held these particular posts in government or in the church. And he's not saying in a land far away, but in a particular place, not only a particular time in history, but a particular place on the planet. The Bible itself claims to be historical and reliable, reporting things that actually happened. The second reason that Christians believe that the Bible is authoritative and is reliable is because of the way Jesus himself treated the Bible. Listen to these words. These are now written in the book of Matthew, Matthew's Gospel, again, telling us the history, the life, death, resurrection of Jesus Christ. And these are some words that Jesus himself said. Jesus said this, I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, nor the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law. Jesus is saying, I believe the Bible down to the last comma and full stop. Every single detail, he says. Now, why would we believe what Jesus says? Well, I need to refer you back to all that we were looking at in the last video, where we believe that Jesus himself is no one other than God himself. Jesus claimed to be God. He did miracles to prove that he was God. And if that is true, then of course Christians are going to listen to Jesus above everything else. There's so many more things we could say. One of the things that people often say to me is, the Bible's full of contradictions. Well, usually what I say to them is, well, show me one of those contradictions. And I find time and again that people haven't even read the Bible, not as an adult anyway. Let me encourage you to read the Bible. If you find what are apparent contradictions, talk to a Christian and they'll show you how the Bible fits together. But read it for yourself, because as you read it, I think you'll find it has the ring of truth about it. And you might find what many of us have found, which is certainly what I found. As I began to read the Bible, I began to discover who Jesus was, and it was as if he walked off the pages of the Bible and into my life, this real historical character. Read it for yourself, and you'll discover that it is like no other book on the planet. Well, again, there we are. Thanks very much for listening in. If you want to know more, then you can get the free ebook of the book, If You Could Ask God One Question, from The Good Book Company. The Good Book Company, a free ebook of If You Could Ask God One Question, and that'll give you some more detail to the question that I've just been addressing.